Welcome to Take Up Space. Catalyze your creative cosmic fire. We are living in a time of profound planetary healing, and the world needs conscious and engaged women to step up and embody our full feminine wisdom. Even as divisions and crises point to the intensity of collective evolutionary forces at play, we get to honor and deepen our connection to the divine feminine. For it is by tending to and resourcing our connection to the sacred and to the cosmos that we heal, thrive, and flourish together. It's time to express your full radiance and beauty and take your place by taking up space. This summit offers a doorway of creative transformation to support you in stepping into your light. Be inspired by the gathering of women leaders who are here to show you the way. I'm your host for this event, Irene Chong, and today I'm excited to present Marguerite Rigoglioso, who'll be sharing more on Mary and Magdalene as stokers of your creative cosmic fire. Marguerite Mary Rigoglioso, PhD, is the founder of Seven Sisters Mystery School, a world-renowned teacher of sacred knowledge and the foremost authority on the history, practice, and sacred significance of virgin birth. A trusted mentor to people on healing and spiritual paths, she draws on her decades-long research and experiences with Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene to help uncover their hidden, timeless teachings and apply them to our present-day needs. As the award-winning author of several books, including The Secret Life of Mother Mary, Divine Feminine Power for Personal Healing and Planetary Awakening, and The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception, Mary and a Lineage of Virgin Births, she lives in Western Massachusetts. Marguerite, a very warm welcome to you. And, it's so interesting that we are filming this interview on Friday the 13th, which feels very, very divine, feminine. So let's just kick things off with a question that I ask every speaker. And it's this: what does reclaiming your divine feminine expression mean to you? And what was the biggest breakthrough or lesson that you learned?
Well, reclaiming the divine feminine for me has meant um, understanding that there was a divine feminine, first of all, very simply, because having been brought up Catholic, um, I had the figures of Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, but they were kind of floaty figures that um, I didn't necessarily consider equal with the divine masculine or God, because that's how they were presented to us, that God was strictly masculine. So uncovering or reclaiming the divine feminine has, first of all, for me meant, and this is what I've dedicated my life and life's work to, unveiling the fact that there is, there was, is, and always shall be a divine feminine presence, actor, energy that is governing the universe and is certainly in co-creative partnership with the masculine. And so that's like on the universal level. And then that has a very direct trickle down to myself as a woman and my level of self-esteem, feeling that I am a worthy citizen of the cosmos because I can see the divine reflected in me in ways that I was not able to previously, before that knowledge was revealed to me and before I started digging into it more deeply. And I think that, many, many women and men around the world have been awakening to that idea of the sacred feminine, the presence of the sacred feminine, and therefore a new empowerment within themselves. And remind me what the second part of your question was.
The second part of the question was, what was the biggest breakthrough or lesson that you learned?
In becoming connected with the divine feminine.
Mhm.
Um, that, well, that all of us as human beings have a divine power within us. And so, again, as I was saying, by, prior to my knowledge of this, it was always the case that, as Carol Chris, the great writer, said, and women's spirituality scholar said, um, men were always able to see themselves reflected in the divine, but women were not. And that creates a wound within us, right? What we can call a narcissistic wound. But as I've been witnessing, many women have been understanding that we are reflections of the divine, it just it's brought a new sense of power to my life. Um, there was an incident that initiated all of this, which is that I was led to these books by Maria Gimbutas and others that the goddess had always existed and was at the foundation of European society. And I remember the day that I found that material in California in a bookstore. And it just felt like my whole psyche was starting to turn right side up. And it was like an influx of psychic energy into my life. So, I mean, I would say that was like the first major breakthrough that I had. And then there have been many along the way as I've been conducting this research and then experiencing the goddess. I went with Carol Christ and others on pilgrimages to ancient Europe, to Greece and Sicily and Italy, and doing those rituals, which was so different from the Catholicism that I had been brought up with, was incredibly, it felt forbidden, but it felt very exciting and very empowering. And it's just helped me to walk in life in a deeper, more empowered way.
Mm.
I hope that gets at what you were looking for.
It absolutely does. And I love the strength and power in your energy and your voice as you were sharing that. It's really clear that you embody that now. Um,
Oh, thank you.
there was this phrase that you mentioned that I love and I wrote it down. You said that in connecting and realizing that the divine resides in all of us, men and women, you recognized that you are a worthy citizen of the cosmos. And I love that phrase. Because you're absolutely right. There is such a huge feminine wound due to all these toxic patriarchal structures that we don't see ourselves as worthy. And so many women struggle with self-esteem issues. And therefore, in recognizing that there is such a thing as the divine feminine, and that we as women, we get to reclaim that very, very big and important part of us, it changes, it shifts our whole worldview, the way we see ourselves, the way we co-create with the universe, the way we, stand up in the world and navigate our way through life. So everything you've said
Right.
is beautiful. And now I'm really,
Yeah. And for me, it was career changing.
mm,
It really was determined what I wanted to do in life, to go down this road, to explore more and open more windows, lift more veils, not only for myself, but for others. It led to a life of teaching and authorship.
right. Can you say a little bit more about that? What was your career like prior to doing the work that you're doing now?
I was basically, well, I started out as like an administrative assistant, in at Harvard University. But then I started moving into freelance writing because I realized that I had writing skills. And after a number of years doing that, quite a while, um, when really more a couple of decades at that, when I met a particular mentor who said, I could help you put together all of your writing skills and your education and your explorations into the sacred feminine together into a new line of work for yourself. That was it. And that's when I started Seven Sisters Mystery School back in 2013. And at some point, I had to leave the freelance writing clients behind and really move into my work as a guide and spiritual mentor and clairvoyant reader for people, as a teacher of courses in this material, and as a writer.
Yeah, it sounds like you've really stepped into your divine calling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is what is very inspiring for a lot of people who do awaken to the sacred feminine. They realize, wow, there's a lot of work to be done here, and I want to be part of that. And if I'm going to have to make money some way, I'd like to make it promoting that.
Yeah, absolutely. I resonate with that deeply because that was my journey as well. So it's so inspirational to hear that when you reconnected and remembered the divine feminine in you, it completely changed your life.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
totally.
I'm now also really curious because so much of your work has to do with bringing the truth of the Marys back into the foreground, and they, of course, have been sidelined by a very patriarchal institution. So let's go into that. You mentioned earlier that you were brought up Catholic, so I would love to explore what your personal relationship with Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene was, and what drew you to working with them on such a deep level.
Right. I would always hear about them, of course, in religious instruction and in church. Not so much about Mother Mary, right? I mean, she was like a little side note, as you're saying, to Jesus' advent on the planet as it was presented then. But always, whenever Mary Magdalene would come into the readings, like especially at Easter, that piqued my interest. And so over the years, um, I started studying them. I became aware of the work of Margaret Starbird and others who were uncovering Mary Magdalene as not the prostitute that she'd been presented as in the church, but rather a very learned, essentially high priestess who was also likely the partner of Jesus, the spouse. And that, back in the, I guess it would be mid 90s, really intrigued me. And then as I developed, I took a women's spirituality program that was in the Boston area, which is where I was living at the time. And they had modules, over like a year period on different goddesses. And one of them was Mother Mary as the goddess of the West. And it was like, oh my gosh, yes, wow, of course. Why wouldn't she be right up there with all of these great female figures? So over the years, because I was, bookish and scholarly, this exploration began mainly as a research investigation in school, in grad school, and then as a teacher at the university level, and so forth. But over time, eventually, my relationship with Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene became intimate and living and multidimensional. And so they started becoming not only sacred figures that I was studying, but they became direct presences for me. They became mentors, re-mothers, priestess sisters, and really also co-creators. And they guided me through a number of stages of life and, initiations really. Um, and their a sense of their presence and their love has really shaped so much of what I've created over the past 10 years, especially.
Wow, I loved hearing that as well because, there is a lot in spiritual communities where more and more women are awakening to the truth of Mary Magdalene. As you highlighted, right? The truth was distorted that she was a prostitute. And you also mentioned that she was potentially most likely the spouse, soulmate of Jesus. And it's interesting how a lot of these notions are seen as forbidden or taboo. Also, something that you highlighted when you shared your personal journey, that there were all these things that were forbidden from women. So it's interesting to learn that she's actually a high priestess and a very learned initiate. And
Yeah.
all truths are slowly seeping back into mainstream consciousness. And you, of course, are a huge part of that, of supporting that reawakening. So for the audience who's watching this, if someone is going, wow, what Marguerite is saying here is speaking to my heart on some level, and I would love to connect more deeply with the Marys.
Yeah.
What advice would you give? How can they start doing that?
Yeah. Well, they really are among the most profound guides for this time because they have walked with grace through both the human and the divine realms. They have had incarnations on this planet, and they are still available to us in the interdimensional levels. So, in meditation, then, you can invite them in, not just as icons or far away, figures that are somewhat intimidating or something like that, but really as energetic companions. Mary Magdalene, you can invite her in with her fiery gaze and her radical truth. And Mother Mary, you can invite in with her. We might see her cloak as like a sapphire light, her deep womb stillness, her profound capacity for perfect mothering. So in working with them as healers, they can help us reclaim our sovereignty, help us, be freed of all of these patriarchal constrictions. They can help us shed shame, including sexual shame. They can help us remember that the body is holy. And if we want to go deeper into ritual, spiritual initiations, including with sacred medicine work, um, they can offer further keys. They can awaken our consciousness to our own multidimensional seeing. Magdalene can unlock a kind of a raw passion and truth telling. And Mother Mary can help us anchor the light, this divine light and this sacred responsibility and devotion. And we do not need to be perfect to call them. We just have to be willing to put it out there that we want to connect and willing to remember.
Beautiful. And since we're talking about the two Marys here, I feel called to ask you. So let's talk about Mother Mary first off. And I am feeling called to ask you about this beautiful mothering piece that Mother Mary offers, because I feel, early on we had alluded to these feminine wounds. And I feel that a huge part of our healing journeys has been to receive this unconditional love that is nurturing and very, very holding. And with all the distortions that, we on the individual and the collective level have faced, as we're talking, I'm already feeling the presence of that sapphire blue Mother Mary energy. And my question is, with all the kind of initiations that we're going through right now, individually and collectively, there is so much, awakening going on. There are challenges and stresses as well. It's not an easy path that the two Marys walked. So I would love to have you share some of the wisdom and insights that you've gained from that deeply personal and intimate relationship with Mother Mary and offer us some guidance and divine inspiration for these times.
Yeah. Well, when I was 10 years old, my mother died. She was ill with lupus. Okay. And so that created a big mother wound, a gap in nurturance, especially with everything that happened after that. It also confronted me full on with what happens to a person when they die? Is there a soul? Where does it go? Right. So that was really my initiation into the sacred feminine and into the dark mysteries right there. And ever since then, I've been exploring, and the Marys have been major figures along the way, because when you lose a mother so early and you're missing critical mothering patterns and energy in your life, and not only that, but you have then abusive energies come on in, you're really limping along and you're really seeking. And so, in a way, despite the distortions that I had experienced in the Catholic Church, I was glad that it had given me a doorway into Mother Mary as that perfect mother, because I would begin to call upon her when I was feeling panicky and anxious, which was a big thing that would happen for me as a result of all that PTSD. In the middle of the night, I would ask her to hold me. Sometimes I would ask her to take me into her womb in the middle of the night and regestate me, remother me. I learned that from a sacred colleague of mine, that that's something you can do. So she really has helped me quite a bit all along the way. And then, along with the healing was the spiritual mentoring. What did I what did I, how I wanted to awaken my consciousness. And by looking at her suppressed gospels and her suppressed biographies and learning what she did in her life and how powerful she was as a spiritual woman, as a priestess, as the first leader of the entire, Christian community, so to speak. Um, I knew that those powers were also within myself. And so step by step, I've been activating those. And for Mary Magdalene, I just was so intrigued by her chutzpah, to anoint Jesus. I believe she's the one who was anointing Jesus. And she was always the one who was like first in everything. And then as I started looking into the Gnostic Gospels, she was always the smartest. She always had her hand raised. She always had something to say. And I completely identified with that because that was me in grad school and every other school, to the chagrin or, annoyance of a lot of my teachers and so forth. But she was a role model for learning, for gnosis, for that passion, that passionate curiosity. Um, so these are just some of the ways, I talk a lot more about my connection with Mother Mary in my book, The Secret Life of Mother Mary, specific things, synchronicities along the way, that I've had with her. And that has continued, as I've gone into some sacred medicine journeys and deliberately called her in. I was finally able to like feel her beyond the shadow of a doubt. There was no longer any, I'm doing this on faith. I'm doing this across a saran wrap veil. No, I was there on the other side and she was with me. And that was a whole affirmation and education and empowerment right there. So these are some of the things that I think get at what you're asking here.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm feeling very, very inspired to deepen my connection. And I think for me, because I don't come from a Catholic tradition, of course I am aware of the Marys. And recently, a lot of this mothering energy has been a big part of my journey and awakening of some kind. It's really interesting because I'm not biologically a mother, and I realize and I recognize that because of that, I had put up certain wall to connecting with
Right.
energy. But what I'm also sensing is that number one, all of us have mothers, and all of us in some form or other, because our mothers are human, have a wound, a mother wound
That's
behind. And that to me is one of the biggest core woundings that is important
yeah,
for women to heal. And that has certainly been part of my journey and hearing your share, it's been yours as well. And hence,
yeah,
it's to me like tapping into and connecting with Mother Mary can be a very, very potent and powerful way for us to heal and rise up in our divine feminine. And that story you shared about journeying into the womb of Mother Mary, it's like, wow,
yeah.
I was blown away because in that womb there was Jesus as well. And so it's almost as if like
That's
we as the children of God and the goddess, we are all one. And how
yeah,
beautiful it is. This summit, as you know, it's called Catalyze Your Creative Cosmic Fire. So, creative
yeah,
powers, I often talk about how women, biologically and energetically, we are creatrixes. We are powerful beings who get to birth and manifest whatever it is, be it a human baby or a project, right, of some kind. Like, we hold these creatrix codes. So my next question to
yeah,
you is, it sounds like you have such an intimate relationship with Mother Mary. Without a shadow of a doubt, now you have that connection, no veils in between the two of you. So
yeah.
I would love to tap into your expertise and hear some insight around how we as women can really step more powerfully into our creatrix codes so that we can co-create the desired future that we want to call in.
Yeah. Well, you're an example of it through your summits. You are a mother to others. That's how you are offering your mothering energy, your caring, your guardianship of the world, right? That is a profound mothering. And I share that with you in my work. And I do not have biological children, you know, but everything that the Marys are about is creative, right? I mean, first of all, Mother Mary's conception of Jesus was part of the creative cosmic fire. It really was one of the greatest acts of sacred creativity ever undertaken on the earth, because she was also doing it through non-ordinary, so to speak, means. It was not just through biology, but through spiritual energetic alignment, a yogic process that was passed down through priestess lineages, what I've called divine birth. And in that act, she was demonstrating multiple levels on which the human womb is a cosmic cauldron. Okay. And that when the heart, mind, and body are aligned with divine will, we can literally bring light into form. So she did it not only in the form of Jesus, but then her leadership was a form of creativity. She was the one who led all of the apostles and disciples after the crucifixion. They would, she would give them assignments, they would come and go, they would come back and get mentorship. She would provide books for them, for teaching and so forth. So everything she did and everything Mary Magdalene did was a creative act. Mary Magdalene was a teacher, right? None of these were passive actions. These were active um, engagements of priestess work, right? And they were governed by a fire, a kind of a divine ignition that sparked a new consciousness on the planet that we're still talking about today. So, their creativity is multiplying, right? And you can help redirect me with another question if you want to hear more from me, or I'm not sure if that's exactly getting at what you were talking about, but
Oh, yes, it was. In fact, it was hugely inspirational. I was taking down a ton of notes, because as you really getting a sense of, yes, the Marys, they had left behind a huge legacy that to this day we're talking about. The focus, so much of the mainstream focus in, traditional religion has been about Jesus and the male apostles, but they've really forgotten that the women, and it's just right, these two women, they were such a force to be reckoned with. You brought up this.
well, they were running the whole show. Okay. Mother Mary was the what I write about and show, demonstrate, give evidence for. Mother Mary was the head of the entire group, and Mary Magdalene was the head of the women. Peter was the head of the men. Okay. It wasn't until later, as patriarchy was really taking root, that Peter then became the figurehead of the whole entire church. But he bowed to Mother Mary. He loved her and he respected her. He did what she said because it was wise, it was in alignment. So they were all about helping us to awaken, bottom line. And that is awaken to our multidimensional knowing that there's more than just the 3D, that there are many dimensional realms, and that we have the cosmos and the divine within us. And that step right there is a deeply creative one, because again, when you feel that creative fire, that connection with the universe within you, it can fuel anything and everything.
Beautiful. Yes. I would like to go more into this notion of sacred creativity. And that was a phrase that you used. I love that because you mentioned that this is all about actively engaging and aligning to spirit. And I feel that, so many, well, virtually every act that we engage in is creative. But
It is.
and depending on the level on which we engage, it could be just, either from a very mental headspace or it can, as you highlighted, it can be multi-dimensional as well. So let's let's move on to Mary Magdalene, who is the keeper of sacred sexual mysteries, right? The blood mysteries. And earlier on, I heard you speak with such passion about how she is a fiery figure for radical truth telling, and that fire in her, right? That ignited her to ask questions, to speak the truth, to take on a path that many women during her time did not participate in. Right. So let's go a little bit into that because oftentimes our creative expression can be an act of radical rebellion. So what were some of the lessons or insights that you gained from connecting personally and intimately with Mary Magdalene?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, my entire life has been an act of creative rebellion. And she indeed has been one of those major role models, as I think she is for so many women and men also, who see her, who honor her, who admire her intelligence. She had the intelligence of the mind, so she could conceive of these concepts that Jesus was teaching them all at a higher level than most of them were. This is in the Gnostic Gospels. Jesus would give her special teachings that only she could understand about the nature of the soul, the nature of death, the walk across the bardo, this and that. Um, so I think her creativity was putting that into action, putting those teachings into action. She was there with the apostles when they were down and out, when they were afraid. She used her creative fire to say, "Hey, look, remember we are the divine within us. We don't have to be afraid. I know that people are getting martyred all around us, but let's take heart. Let's remember who we are. Let's go forward." And then she creatively brought these teachings all over. After the crucifixion, it's said that she went to Gaul or an aspect of France and was carrying these teachings. So everything that she did was all about creative fire, including making the sacred medicines that would help people awaken. She was an apothecary. She was what was called a myrrhophore, a myrrh-bearing woman. That doesn't just mean the myrrh. It means all the substances that were put in to the communion chalice or the communion bread, so that when people would have a communion, it literally was like a medicine journey together. So every single thing she did was um, was a creative act. It was a devotional act. It was about what new ways can I bring forth and can I inspire others to bring forth in helping us to open our hearts to greater love, to open our womb knowledge, to open our conscious knowledge, our third eye. And of course, she had probably the creative act of conceiving one or more children with Jesus, with Yeshua. So she was really the complete protein. She had all the chakras firing with her inner flame.
Wow. Marguerite, I could just sit here all day and just let you talk. There is so much flowing through you. It's beautiful to hear and very uplifting as well. Um, what I keep getting, what I keep sensing is that these two women were such inspirational figures because they were in devotional service to something much greater than them. Their
That's right.
entire life was a calling. So, as women in this modern day and age who are also feeling this call, this sacred call, and I believe that everyone who has been drawn to watch this summit is definitely on that devotional path as well, right? What what advice would you give? Like if someone wanted to go deeper with this work, to play with source energy, especially in terms of connecting with the two Marys,
Sure.
what tips would you give?
Well, I mean, again, if we're really whatever being, master, guide, goddess, God, um, you want to connect with, because they are like step down bridges for us to connect with and understand source creator, which feels pretty cosmic, right? So we have these beings, these male and female beings who radiate this great light, which of course is just a mirror of what's in us. But what we can do is call on them, begin speaking to them directly again in the meditations. Ask for them to come, show you signs, show you dreams. Ask to feel them. Ask for guidance when you're in your meditation or for signs in your world. You can read their stories, right? Like my book, The Secret Life of Mother Mary, the other one, The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception. Those will give you the mother lode on Mother Mary. And there are numerous books on Mary Magdalene. And if you want to look at the Gnostic Gospels, like the Gospel of Philip, Gospel of Thomas, the Infancy Gospel of James, those are where some of the major historical pieces are about Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and others. But also, listen in your own heart. right? These teachings are not just in ancient texts. They're in your dreams, they're in your womb, they're in your longing. And you can also step into sacred community with others who are walking what they like to call the rose path. Um, and, this is why, for example, I created the Inner Sanctum Temple at Seven Sisters Mystery School, so people can come into that architecture that we've created and have experiences each month to commune with the Marys and others, the other sacred female beings like the Pleiades and so forth. And it's also why, for example, I created the Mary and Magdalene priestess training, because these are places where that flame can be tended together. I provide a tremendous amount of information as well as experiential ritual using sacred cacao and so forth that help you really awaken and open and start knowing again beyond the shadow of a doubt, beyond faith, that these women are there, they're available, and they will speak to you. Okay, so what we're all doing with these Marys and any of these great female beings, let's say, for example, and also the male beings, is um, engaging in an energy that helps us remember that we are part of their lineage on a very, real level. We're not separate. And whether you want to come into this knowing through Kuan Yin or, Tara or the Marys or Kali or, any of these goddesses, you'll come to the same place eventually, which is the divine light within yourself. But we all need support for this type of a road. So coming into communities, finding your mentors, finding elders who've gone before you can be very helpful. And again, speaking together, be it online or be it in person, in live workshops and things like that.
Yeah, what I'm really picking up is that what you're really saying here is mirroring. Like that was the key word that I received.
Sure.
As you say, right? So few of us were brought up with a reverence of what the divine feminine is all about. And, I love that you mentioned there is this plethora of divine feminine goddesses and beings that we can look to. Some people
Yeah.
would relate more with, say, Kali or Kuan Yin because of perhaps the cultural heritage that they came from, their religious upbringing, etc. But either way,
And that's why they're there. You know what I mean? They
yeah.
come in cultural forms that we can identify because we need to see ourselves reflected in them.
Mm,
So they will come in a form that looks like you.
yeah.
And if you want a Mother Mary who's blonde and blue-eyed, great. If you want one who is African, great. You know, um, all she's all of that.
Yeah. But it really just goes beyond, culture or race, ethnicity, all of that. What I'm hearing
Right.
with the mirroring, what we're really getting is that this is a very personal relationship. I loved it when you said engage with, say, the Marys, if that's what you're feeling called to connect with. Engage with it not just through, say, books or scholarly research. That is good. I think that always can be a very positive and affirming piece to read what other experts have to say. But you also mentioned like engage with your heart, right? Listen to the truth in your heart. And I feel that that's a piece that actually Mary Magdalene speaks a lot about, right? From at least from what I understand, that was a core part of her teachings, which is personal, direct engagement instead from an external authority figure. And I think that was part of the reason why the traditional church did not did not promote her teachings because it went against their
That's
agenda.
right. That's right. That's right. And now what's happening 2,000 years later is the return to inner gnosis. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The knowledge is within you. It's not out there. It's not in any structure, institution, or authority figure.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so they are there with us to help us immediately access that felt knowing, that felt information.
Yeah. And another piece that you had shared in that idea of mirroring was being in sisterhood and community. That's why you have your school, your temple, and you mentioned experiential rituals in which you guide your community to directly engage and connect with this beautiful divine feminine energy. So it feels right and ready for me to invite you to take the space and guide us through a beautiful journey to connect with the creative energy that the Marys hold. So please take it away.
Yeah. All right. Yes, this is for you to ignite your creative cosmic fire with the Marys. So again, I'm just inviting us to close our eyes and bring your breath into your womb or your low belly as you're inhaling and exhaling. And just let all of the particles of the snow globe that have been shaken up just fall into you. Let yourself receive the codes that have been reactivated. Just imagine that you're standing inside temple, a luminous temple, and two priestesses step forward. Mother Mary approaches first, and she places a hand on your womb or your hara or your heart, wherever that feels best for you. Just feel her whispering now to you a word of stillness or grace or something that inspires your receptivity. Feel her in that intimate mother-daughter or mother-son relationship with you right now. She's here with you, not even a breath away. And Magdalene approaches next. And she touches either your throat or your solar plexus right around your navel, whichever feels best. And feel that as she's with you, she's breathing fire into your creative center, into your entire creative core, awakening your sense of vision. And see that between the Marys now is a flame. This is a cosmic creative fire. Cosmic creative fire is between them. And you are invited to step forward and receive that cosmic creative fire now. And they guide you to place it in your body where you need it the most. Is this your womb or your belly, your heart, your hands, your throat? Where? Just receive this flame of creative cosmic fire. Maybe this is up and down your entire chakra system from your root to your crown. And in silence, as you are receiving and letting this flame radiate within you, let the Marys offer one message or perhaps an image about your next creative expression. What wants to be birthed through you? Just receive that now. And as you receive that, if there is a question or questions you have about this or some support you need, ask those questions or ask for that support and just hear or feel their response to you. What's needed? And thank the Marys and just hear their words to you. You are a temple of the creative fire. You carry the lineage forward through your voice, your work, your joy. You are our heart, our hands, our feet, and our voice, because we are you. And thank the Marys once again. See this flame now living inside you, accessible and restokable at any time. And take a breath in and out and bring your awareness back to the present moment, to your body. Just wiggle your fingers a little bit and gently open your eyes. Ah, blessed be.
Blessed be Marguerite. That was amazing. Wow, there was so much fire in that one.
Oh.
So I'll share my experience, and those of you who are watching this, if you'd like to take a moment to integrate everything, bring it all, if it's your preference to sit in silence, please feel free to pause this recording, take some time to reflect, review, give thanks, gratitude.
Mm.
There was so much grace in the energy. Um,
Mm.
and when you're ready, you can come back and listen to my share. So it was really beautiful. Let me try to remember everything that happened. Oh, I just want to add that at the beginning, when you guided us to feel the presence of the two figures, I also felt the presence of the Hathors and Isis,
Oh,
and of course that connection between
they're all related. They're
yes,
all related.
yes,
Yes, that's fabulous.
yeah, and it was really beautiful because there was this cosmic gathering, right? The feminine. And there's no competition like, oh, my goddess is better than yours, right? Which
Right.
can be a really distorted, kind of messed up narrative that can sometimes take place. But what I really felt was a weaving of energy and power that was really beautiful. And when you got us to place a hand on wherever it felt like it was in our body. With Mother Mary, my hand went straight to my womb, and with Mary Magdalene, it was on my throat, and I was feeling this flame grow in my throat chakra. And then you had mentioned asking for a message, a divine message. And what came through was, for me, was a really interesting one because it may sound cliched, but the energy behind it felt very deep and profound, which was to speak my truth. But I kind of felt that I went into a deeper layer of what that meant, which was that I felt into the initiations and the hardships that Mary Magdalene experienced, when she went to France to escape persecution. Life was uncertain. Uh, a lot of, the traditional religious faiths talk about, oh, have faith. But I felt that what she did went beyond faith. It was interesting for me because, like you, I had complex PTSD and I grew up in an environment where I had to be hyper vigilant, constantly looking for danger or threats. And so the anxiety always comes up. I feel that it never quite goes away. It comes up every time I expand and stretch and go into deeper expansion. Like it comes up. And I'm constantly, still consistently looking for ways to regulate my nervous system, to come back into energetic alignment with my core. And the message that came through from Mary Magdalene was it's time to go beyond faith and to step into inner knowing and to speak what I want, right? Because with the throat and the sacral chakras, these are two powerful connected centers for creation, right? There's creative expression through our voices, but also, and I forget now, but the Bible didn't open with, in the beginning was the word, and that was really creation, right? The power of creation. And what I got was, oh, instead of speaking out fear and worry, let's shift the energy and speak from a place of deep inner knowing and let that be my truth.
Wow.
And then it will manifest. So
Wow.
that was why I really felt that the message of speak your truth came at a much more profound depth than previously. So clearly here I'm spiraling deeper into the core essence of my personal journey in stepping up, being more visible, sharing my truth, etc. And yeah, the message was really go beyond faith. We're past that now.
Yeah.
This is the time to
Yeah.
step into the power of your inner knowing. That whatever it is you know
Wow.
deep inside, you get to create it. Yeah.
That's right. That's so profound because, yes, it's like if we know that we're creators through our voice, what do we want to be speaking? That's a critical component of the new earth, that we start moving into more positive visionings and positive expressions and things like that. Doesn't mean that we deny, but we don't focus endlessly in the hamster wheel, right, of the negativity. We have to give positivity more than its fair share.
That's right. It's so interesting because I think so much of my programming was to be cautious. Oh, let's not talk
Right.
about it until it actually happens, right? That was the kind of cautionary, well-intentioned advice that some people would give me. Like, oh, we'll wait and see what happens first. Let's not jump the gun, etc. But what I was really getting was no, no, no. Don't forget that you have the power to create your reality. You get
That's right.
it. Yeah.
Like preempt all that and be like, well, what do I want? What do I want to happen? I'm not going to just wait and see. That's the thing. Mother Mary was not passively conceived with Jesus. Like she had willed the whole entire thing.
Mm.
She had planned it, you know? So that passivity was one of the greatest wounds that we've been given, that they've used the imagery of Mother Mary to inculcate in women, especially. And that's just something that we're releasing now.
Yeah, what I'm also really getting is that when our personal will is aligned with divine will, whoosh,
That's right.
like that's
You
like
will go. You will soar, truly.
yeah, and that was the energy I was feeling into when Mary Magdalene came with the message. It was like it was almost as if she was saying, "Look at me, look at what I went through, and look what's happening now," right? That resurgence, that remembering. Um, Yeah, it was really truly inspirational, and I'm really feeling to the message of the title of your topic now, right? Mary and Magdalene as stokers of your creative cosmic fire. This is really what it means to be the co-creator of your
Yeah.
life. Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
passively wait. We align ourselves energetically with divine will, and
Yeah.
that therefore we know that it will come to pass. Like
That's
it
right.
will be. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And it self-fulfills, right? It's a virtuous spiral. It
Mm,
gets us going, it gets us moving, and it's reinforcing, self-reinforcing.
yeah. Another beautiful message really that I got with the creative energies was that there is such pleasure. It's interesting because, in a lot of the narratives about the two Marys was the suffering that they endured, right? The hardship
Right.
they went through. I mean, even the suppression of the divine feminine can sometimes result in a narrative that, oh, poor them, etc.
That's right.
So much injustice, etc. But what I really got was, oh, these were two women who were solidly in their power. They
That's
never
right.
participated or took part in any of the crap or the bullshit that was going on. They took
That's right.
pleasure in knowing that they were powerful beings. And
Yeah. Yeah. They had courage. They were doing it. And so courage is a critical component for creativity as well.
yeah,
But your courage is supported when you feel those energies are there for you, you know? So it's not like just, ah, I'm terrified and I'm going forward, but it's like, okay, I'm a little bit uncomfortable or very uncomfortable, but let me call in my allies and then let me move forward. This whole enterprise that we're doing, this whole awakening does require divine intervention and support. And so we can call on these beings and others to help us.
yeah. What I'm really getting is that, this message, let's not forget there is help because there is so much.
There's help.
Yeah. And
Yeah, it's not
I
just for each of us as an individual or even for the human species alone. We have these guardians, these guides, and but they require us to step forth and invite them in.
Exactly. And I really want to reiterate this message because I feel that there is so much noise and distraction telling us that, the fear mongering and
Oh
the
yeah,
the narratives that we are helpless, that we can't do it, etc. So let's not forget that we have powerful allies and guides that we can totally
that's right.
connect to on a personal level. We don't need to go through
Yeah,
any other external authority figures. There's no
yeah,
intermediary necessary. We find the right support. But let's not also forget that we have personal engagement. It's entirely possible for us. So I feel that this is such a powerful message that I just want to echo and highlight once again. And thank you, Marguerite.
that's right. Yeah, in these very intense times where you turn on the news and it's like, oh my God. First of all, don't turn on the news. Secondly, if you do, then just realize this is all like kind of a smoke and mirrors thing to get us out of our power by certain forces that don't want that us to be empowered. And you can just circumvent it. You can just go right around it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And really, one of the ways to do that is to immerse yourself in containers that hold the kind of divine feminine supportive energies that will, sort of provide a nice little shield or bubble that keeps you away from these negative
right.
energies.
A
Yeah,
sanctuary. A sanctuary. And yes, that's what we do at Seven Sisters Mystery School. As I said, I have the Inner Temple Sanctuary, which is how I am now offering my teachings. And it's a kind of a monthly experience. And all of almost my entire back library is available when you join it. But we literally created the inner architecture for that with our Rose Gate initiation, and everyone palpably felt like, wow, I really am part of something, and I can keep it in my pocket or my purse, or I can expand it out and walk into it. These are the inner and outer architectures that we're developing now. Um, so yes, come join, be part of our community or find your communities if you're not already, or expand into new ones.
Mm, perfect. So I think this is the perfect segue for me to introduce your amazing free gift, because I would love for the
Yes.
audience to get to connect with you more deeply. So your free
Fantastic.
gift is a series of 8 free channeled meditations to connect to the Marys for healing and spiritual growth. And if you're watching this, All you have to do is to click on the link right below this video to gain immediate access. Thank you so much, Marguerite, for offering this. And I'm wondering, do you have any final words of inspiration to share with the audience? Um, yeah, that's what I'm feeling called to ask you before we close the container.
Yeah, just let your curiosity and your passion be your guide for everything that you are exploring, everything that you're doing. That's going to lead you. And whether it has to do with the Marys as your allies or other things that are related or that are completely divergent from that, just follow that. Your passion and your inner creative fire is what's going to take you where you need to go.
And that is a perfect end, Marguerite. You mentioned a couple of C's, and I quickly wrote them down because it was courage, curiosity, and compassion, which is a perfect end
Yes.
for me to say that this summit, because the theme is catalyze your creative cosmic fire. So we've got lots of alliterative k sounds there that hopefully will ignite and inspire the women who are watching this. Thank you so much, Marguerite. It has been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to sit in sacred space with you. And also a big thank you to all of you who are watching this. Do keep a lookout for an amazing lineup of incredible speakers who are coming your way as well.